Again, to those who are just joining us now, thank you for sparing your time with us this morning. We are just waiting for the Chief Minister any moment from now, and we will kick off the program. Again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope na if it's okay, you can turn on your cameras so we can see those beautiful smiles this morning. Again, may we request everyone to please join us by turning on your videos so we may see those beautiful smiles in a in a lovely I already forgot what the day is, in a lovely Wednesday morning. So all right, our dear friends from the different ministries and UN agencies along with the different offices here in the BARMM. Ayan, all right. Of course, our dear friends from the British Embassy is already here with us as well. Our partners from UNICEF, the different provincial governments have also joined us this morning. All right. So we're gonna have a group photo later this morning. So we might want to start practicing the best angle in our Zoom cameras. All right? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Of course, we would like to acknowledge some of our friends from the media, both based here in the bar and from the national media. Of course, we have with us from the FOCAP, I see Ma'am Jamela being with us this morning. Alright, so mamaya-maya or in a few moments, we will be starting the program. The Chief Minister is just setting up. He's just out of the meeting right now, and we are already anticipating his presence in a few moments. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Again, before we officially begin, may we request our dear friends to please turn on your cameras so we may see your beautiful faces on a beautiful Wednesday morning. In the case of us here in Cotabato, a rainy Wednesday morning. Welcome to the emergency COVID-19 response, protecting the most vulnerable in the Philippines, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, a partnership launch of the Bangsamoro Government, the UK Government, and UNICEF Philippines. I am your host today, Georgiani Sinsot, from the Bureau of Public Information, Bangsamoro Government, and I will be joining you as we navigate towards this new partnership. We are truly delighted to have you join us for this important occasion as we celebrate the gift of partnership and cooperation in the name of the Bangsamoro children and their families. We thank you all for your support and collaboration. Before we begin, let me share a few reminders to make our virtual launch a success. Please mute your mic when not speaking. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand or wait for your name to be called. And lastly, for our friends from the media, please state your name and organization before asking your question. You may do so preparatory in our Zoom chat here in our call. And for our Facebook Live audience, you may comment down below for any significant questions. We are now live on Facebook through the Bangsamoro Government, the UNICEF Philippine Facebook pages. To our dear friends who are watching online, you may join our conversations by using the hashtags moral governance, we will beat COVID-19, and hashtag for every child. Before we move forward, I would just like to acknowledge some of our dear attendees who will be joining us for the rest of the day. The Chief Minister of the Bangsamoro Government, Chief Minister Ahud Alhaj Murad Balawag Ibrahim, sir. The Minister of the Social Services and Development, Minister Raisa Jajuri. The Minister of Education, Minister Mohagyor Iqbal. The OIC of Ministry of Health, Dr. Amiril Usman, and the Deputy Minister of the MOH, Dr. Zulkarnain Abbas, the Deputy Ambassador to the Philippines of the British Embassy, Sir Alistair Toti, Mr. Martin Norman, Second Secretary of the British Embassy in the Philippines, Ms. Kathleen Moreno, Program Manager of the Conflict Stability and Security Fund of the British Embassy, Snow Rupa, Project Officer of the CSSF from the British Embassy. Of course, our dear friends from the UNICEF Philippines, with its UNICEF representative in the Philippines, Ms. Oyunsay Kandendev Norov, the Chief of Mindanao Field Office, Mr. Andrew Morris, the different BERMM provincial government units represented this morning in behalf of Governor Abdusakur Tan of Sulu, in behalf of the Governor by Mariam Sangki Mangudadatu of Maguindanao, Governor Ishmael I. Sali of Tawi-Tawi, Governor Jim Hataman Saliman of Basilan, along with the heads of their different integrated provincial health offices and their provincial information officers. We are also joined by our friends from the national and local media and our dear partners from the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines. Just a short briefer, the UNICEF is providing support to the BERMM in its efforts to limit the spread of COVID-19 across the region. In September 2020, UNICEF received a grant from the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office of the United Kingdom Government to support the COVID-19 response in the Bangsamoro. The partnership between the UK and UNICEF will strengthen the capacity in the region to respond to the challenges of the pandemic. Let's begin this program by watching this short slideshow of the strong partnership between the UNICEF and Bangsamoro Government as we work towards our fight against COVID-19. Let's all watch this. So I hope we get a glimpse of what this partnership is all about and how our common goal of fighting COVID-19 becomes an integral part towards this cause. Before we get more understanding about this partnership, it is with great honor and privilege to welcome for a short message in behalf of the United Kingdom government. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Deputy Ambassador to the Philippines, Mr. Alistair Toti.
Thank you, Georgiani, and greetings. Salam alaikum to everybody from the very, very wet and grey and horrible Manila. It's a bit like weather back in the UK. Don't go. Anyway, it's nice to see you all and to see you all looking well. And I'm very grateful to UNICEF and everybody else for hosting us today. And good to see you all looking safe and sound. The one advantage of doing this from my home office is that I don't have to wear a face shield or a mask, and we can all see each other in our glory. So it's good to do that today. First of all, like Georgiani, I'd like to thank our esteemed Bangsamoro partners and friends for honouring us today, specifically Chief Minister Ibrahim, Minister Iqbal, Minister Jajuri, Minister Usman, Director Alondo, and all the Barmm governors, as well as our friends in the media and the Foreign Correspondents Association in the Philippines. And of course, a huge thanks to UNICEF Philippines, brilliantly led by Unsaikan and Devnarov and her amazing team, and thanks to them for organising this digital launch of our partnership and all their work that has got us to this stage. As you all know, this has been a really, really tough year for everybody, but it is proof that we can overcome any obstacle through collaboration by being here today as we are. And I commend the efforts of the Chief Minister, the BTA, and many others in tackling the spread of the pandemic in the Bangsamoro, as this challenge seems unabated and likely to continue for some time, whilst governments work hard to roll out a vaccine, including the British government. As you all know, the British government is a very long-standing partner of the Mindanao peace process. And we've drawn from our own experiences with the Northern Ireland peace process in the UK to support both the Philippine government and the MILF over the last few years through initiatives such as the International Contact Group. And since the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, we have been assisting the Bangsamoro Parliament to establish itself. We have deployed some of our most well-respected parliamentarians to share their expertise and best practices with our friends in the BTA. And we are happy to be able to complement this political support with assistance through UNICEF to help the BTA respond to the challenges of the pandemic, whose impact on the most vulnerable families in the Philippines cannot be underestimated. This exciting new partnership with UNICEF in the Philippines has three aims. Firstly, to reach some 3 million people with COVID-19 messages. Secondly, to restart the provision of essential preventative and curative health and nutrition services to over 130,000 children and 25,000 infants through support to outreach vaccination services. And thirdly, to contribute to the safe return of 5,000 returnees or 1,200 families from Malaysia through emergency relief support. I do hope that this small contribution will help our friends in Mindanao to defeat the worst of this pandemic. As we all know, children are the future of the Barmm, and they deserve to be given every chance to help to shape its destiny. The British government will continue to be a committed partner in achieving lasting peace and prosperity in Mindanao for the benefit of all its citizens, but especially the most vulnerable children and families. Again and finally, thank you to everybody who's joined us this morning, and I look forward to the time when I can visit the Barmm and meet you all in person. But in the meantime, keep well and stay safe. Maraming salama.
Thank you so much, Deputy Ambassador Alistair Toti. We also look forward on seeing you here in the Bangsamoro in the near future, and we are looking forward as we navigate the beautiful partnership to be launched today between the UK government and the Bangsamoro government, with the help, of course, of UNICEF Philippines, inshallah. Shukran, Deputy Ambassador Alistair Toti. Of course, the program would not be complete without the facilitation and the oversight of our dear friends who have been there since day one of this transition period and even before, during the peace process proper. To hear a message from the UNICEF Philippines, it is with great privilege to introduce you the UNICEF representative to the Philippines, Ms. Oyun Saikan Benevnorov. Ma'am?
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Chief Minister, Ministers of Education and Social Services and Development, Officer in Charge, Minister of Health, PTA members and other government officials and media present, and of course the Deputy Head of Mission of the British Embassy, Alistair Toti. Thank you all for joining us in this virtual launch of this joint project between the UK government and UNICEF to support the Barmm in their fight against the coronavirus pandemic. This partnership is greatly needed, and we gratefully acknowledge the UK government's contribution of over $1 million to UNICEF to support the Barmm's programs. This complements the UK government's regular contributions to UNICEF's core resources in support of our wider regular programs in health, nutrition, WASH, education, child protection, and social policy across the Philippines. COVID-19 and its secondary impacts have greatly affected many Filipinos, with the most vulnerable families facing the greatest risk. While Barmm has had just 1,300 cases to date, far fewer than other regions, and the encouraging result of the protection and containment measures, the effects are surely felt by the population. In many ways, the pandemic has added challenges to basic services that are essential for children's well-being. Even before COVID-19, Barmm's health services did not reach all the villages. The movement restrictions have made it even more difficult for health staff to deliver services. The fear of families have stopped them from going to the health clinics for essential vaccinations and the screening of children, which adds to the risks of malnutrition and vaccine-preventable diseases. Schools have been closed since March, and the lack of good connectivity and the gadgets have prevented 800,000 children who were enrolled last in the school academic year from online learning during COVID, calling for innovative solutions to guarantee each child's right to education. Many families have lost their incomes, and poverty has become a real threat for many. In a region which has accounted for some of the highest poverty rates in the country, in the Philippines. In facing these challenges, I would like to commend the Barmm's effort to prevent the spread and the impact of COVID-19. These efforts will need to continue, and I'm pleased to confirm UNICEF's commitment to supporting Barmm's efforts. As Alistair Toti just mentioned, that this UK-UNICEF partnership for Barmm will benefit some 3 million people with important life-saving COVID-19 messages, as well as 130,000 children under 5 years old through screening and referral for malnutrition program, 25,000 infants through support to outreach vaccination services, and 5,000 returnees or 1,200 families from Malaysia returning to access emergency relief support. This response is deeply needed. Once again, we gratefully acknowledge the UK government's contribution to UNICEF in support to Barmm's program. UNICEF's priority is reaching the hardest to reach children and those at risk of being left behind. With that, I would like to assure the Chief Minister of UNICEF's unwavering support to improve the lives of children in Barm. Thank you and congratulations for holding this event. And Maraming salamat po. Back to you, Jurjani.
Thank you so much to the UNICEF representative in the Philippines, Ms. Oyun Saikan Dendev Norov. The BAOMM has always been grateful for all the work that you do, especially now in the COVID-19 response. And we are looking forward for more initiatives with UNICEF Philippines. Maraming salamat. Of course, the entire spectrum of this partnership would not be complete without the third and perhaps the most significant in this picture. It is with great honor again to welcome to you the Chief Minister of the Bangsamoro Government. For a short message, my dear friends and partners, please welcome Chief Minister Ahod Alhaj Murad Balawag Ibrahim. Sir?
Thank you very much, Johnny. Thank you very much to the British Diplomatic Corps, headed by the Deputy Ambassadors, the representative from UNICEF Philippines. We have been working with the British government since part of the structure of the peace process now, being one of the international contact group, along with Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Japan. So thank you very much also to the UNICEF for the continuing partnership. We have also been a long history of partnership under the peace process and the MINA. We have undertaken the program for the children. So we have a long history of relationship. My fellow members from Bangsamoro Government, local chief executives and their representatives, and partners, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. A very good day to all of you. I am very happy to join all of you in today's simple yet extremely significant launching of our emergency COVID-19 response. I thank all of you for making this happen. COVID-19 is perhaps the biggest crisis that humanity is facing during this century. For a region that had its own share of humanitarian emergencies, none of which can compare to the uncertainty brought by this pandemic. Throughout my lifetime, I have seen undescribable tragedies in various communities. And every single time, there have always been two common scenarios. First, the pain and anguish when a crisis strikes. All kinds of emotions come in. Perhaps a manifestation of how vulnerable we are as humans. And then there is the second scene, the resiliency and recovery. While some take only a matter of weeks, for others, it might take weeks or months or even years. Communities all over the world always find its way back up. And I know with the will of the Almighty Allah, we can recover from this pandemic as well, inshallah. Just now, we had also a meeting with the different ministries launching our program on recovery, pandemic recovery, and we have finally we need each other more than anything right now. Yes, we might not be together physically, but the COVID-19 pandemic has brought us closer than ever. With the ever-changing realities now, I remain optimistic that not only can we stand again from the public health crisis, but ultimately as the redefined Bangsamoro harness through the challenges of its decades-long struggle and the birth pains of its bureaucratic transition. We are thankful once again to our dear partners from the British government, the UNICEF, for your incredible support for the Bangsamoro, not only now, but during the time of the peace process and during the time when our people needs it, especially during these trying times. We are truly grateful to all of you. Thank you very much, and wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Chief Minister Ahod Al-Hajj Murad Balawag Ibrahim, for the beautiful words of wisdom. And just like what he mentioned, the Bangsamoro is truly grateful for all our partners that have been there since day one. And inshallah, this challenge too will pass. Of course, at this point, because of the restrictions provided by the COVID-19 pandemic, the UNICEF, specifically here in its Cotabato Field Office, have created its own creative ways to produce to us a ceremonial turnover between the COVID-19 response equipment. So right now, we will be showing to you the UNICEF Chief for Mindanao Office, Andrew Morris, as he turns over or hands over the COVID-19 emergency supplies to the Barmm government through Minister Jajuri, Minister Iqbal, OIC Minister Usman, and Director Alonto. Again, let's all watch this. All right. Thank you so much to our dear partners of UNICEF Philippines here in the Cotabato Field Office for finding ways to creatively turn over the COVID-19 response equipments, of course, from our dear friends in the British government. At this moment, may I request the Chief Minister Ahod Alhaj Murad Ibrahim, our UNICEF representative Oyum Saikan Dendavnorov, and our Deputy Ambassador Alistair Toti to please join us for a screenshot group photo. I guess that's what these things are called nowadays. So may we ask you to please look at your cameras, and our tech guys here will be taking a photo as a ceremonial copy of our turnover. So we will be counting into 3. All right, sige po.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to our beloved Chief Minister, UNICEF representative, and Deputy Ambassador. We know that in the future, the partnership will flourish outside the tenets of the COVID-19 pandemic, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. To proceed, we will also make sure that the receiving ministries of the BAMM will be sharing to us their messages of commitment. The first one is the Minister of the Ministry of Social Services and Development, Minister Raisa Jajuri. You may now share with us your message.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Alistair Toti, Deputy Delegation of the British Embassy in the Philippines, Madam Oyun Seikan Dendeknuro, UNICEF representative in the Philippines, Mr. Martin Norman, the Second Secretary of the British Embassy here, and Ms. Kathleen Moreno, Ms. Snow Lupa, also of the British Embassy, Sir Andrew Morris, UNICEF Chief of the Mindanao Field Office, of course, our Chief Minister, Ahod Alhaj Ibrahim, of the Bangsamoro Government region, our esteemed heads of provincial governments, our provincial information, provincial health officers of the Barmm provinces, and all my fellow workers in the Bangsamoro government, and everyone else in this virtual lodge. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Gandang tanghali po. We're very grateful and happy to receive assistance from UNICEF and the UK government under this emergency COVID-19 response, protecting the most vulnerable in the Philippines, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Specifically, we highly appreciate the provision of emergency relief support for the returning Filipinos from Sabah, or REFs as we call them, who are coming to the provinces of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. As most of you know, 5,300 reps are expected to be brought back home in batches as part of the Sabah government's action on COVID-19. The Ministry of Social Services and Development has already provided assistance to around 2,000 plus reps who had already been transported back to the island provinces. Once they are back in their respective provinces, they are first quarantined, and it is the Ministry of Social Services that is responsible for managing the camp, which would be their temporary homes and quarantine area for 7 up to 14 days. While majority of those who return are adult males, there are also quite a few who are minors and even babies, as young as a few days old. So the family hygiene and dignity kits, the water containers, water disinfectant and sodium hypochlorite, water purification tablets, tents, recreation and early childhood development kits will provide the necessary tools for our social workers in Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi to be able to take care of the reps on their way back home and during the period where they stay in the camp. Thereafter, the ministry will continue to facilitate their reintegration back to their respective communities in their own hometowns. So we thank UNICEF and the UK government for including the reps in the Bangsamoro in this project, as we all grapple with this humongous task that is placed upon us in taking care of the most vulnerable sectors during the COVID-19 pandemic. We also welcome the equipment that will be provided to our ministry for our information dissemination, which is very important at this time in relation to the programs that we are implementing to address the needs of the sectors that we are serving, including the refs, locally stranded individuals, women, persons with disabilities, orphans, and other vulnerable children and youth and adults. We hope this partnership between the Bangsamoro and the UNICEF and the United Kingdom will make our response to COVID-19 pandemic stronger and more responsive to the needs of our people. So muli po, marami pong salamat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Minister Raisa Jajuri. Truly the work of MSSD is significant in this battle, for they get to see the actual situation on the ground. Thank you so much, muli, Minister Jajuri. Another important ministry during this pandemic, of course, relates to education. At this moment, please help me welcome the Minister of Basic, Higher and Technical Education, Minister Mohager Iqbal. And I believe that there are technical glitches, but to proceed, we will be listening to the team that handles the heart of this health crisis, the Ministry of Health. Please welcome for a short message the officer in charge of the Bangsamoro Ministry of Health, Dr. Ameril Usman. Sir?
Hello. Hello. Hello, Sir Giovanni.
Hello po, good morning.
Good morning. Dr. Ameril Usman is currently engaged in a meeting with the National IATF. He will be with us shortly. I will be giving his message on his behalf. Alhamdulillah, so far the Ministry of Health have a good working relationship with the UNICEF in the battle against COVID-19, and so far we have the Ministry of Health in collaboration or with other agencies and stakeholders have really achieved many things in its battle against COVID-19. We have established COVID-19 facilities in Maguindanao, two of which are now operational, the one in Cotabato Sanitarium and the one in Datubda in OP. And those are 100-bed capacity facilities. And this was made possible through the initiative of the Ministry of Public Works and of course the Office of the Chief Minister. And currently we are constructing the additional facilities in Basulta areas, Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. And of course, the one in Lanao. The one in Lanao is, I think, 80% completed. And aside from that, we are providing PPEs and supplies to the provinces also. And of course, as the
ministry concerned with the fight against COVID-19. We are, of course, at the forefront. And we also have various problems, like, for instance, we have health workers which are affected by the pandemic. And however, the ministry, Alhamdulillah, is very much thankful for the support given by the UNICEF and other stakeholders, as well as the leadership of the Barmm government. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Deputy Minister Dr. Zulkarnain Abbas, for the updates and the support that the MOH gives on a daily basis for our dear COVID-19 patients, along with the partnership now with the UNICEF Philippines and the British government. Maraming salamat po, Deputy Minister Abbas. The next message will be delivered by the Bureau of Public Information OIC Director. Please welcome the Director Amin Andrew Alonto. Sir?
Thank you, George. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My due courtesies to our Chief Minister in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, Sir Ahud Al-Hajj Murad Balawag Ibrahim. Of course, the Deputy Ambassador of the United Kingdom to the Philippines, Mr. Alistair Toddy. UNICEF representative in the Philippines, Oyun Saihan Dendebnarov. Barm Ministers, Attorney Raisa Jajuri, Sir Muhager Iqbal, and OIC Minister Dr. Amirul Usman, and Deputy Minister Zulkarnain Abbas, fellow workers in the Bangsamoro Government and partners in the UNICEF and UK Government, media, friends, good morning and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I cannot stress enough how important risk communication is in a time like today. This pandemic has indeed made several impacts on our lives and at different levels. We are at a point where we sadly have to balance our policies between the health situation and economic needs. In between these two are our people, families and children who need to understand these policies and guidelines. While we want our people to be informed of the dangers surrounding COVID-19, we also do not want them to live in fear that is based on fabrications and misinformation. And that is why we, in the Bureau of Public Information, as the main communication arm of the Bangsamoro Government, and under the guidance of our Chief Minister, would like to assure our partners that the assistance and support provided to us will be used to better perform our mandate of educating and informing all stakeholders across the Bangsamoro region. Lastly, we would like to thank the UNICEF and the UK government for their invaluable support. And as what the Chief Minister earlier said, more than anything right now, what we need is each other and everyone's cooperation and compassion. Again, thank you and good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much to our Director from the Bureau of Public Information, Director Amin Andrew Alonto, for a short yet meaningful message for this morning. At this moment, we will be welcoming our dear friends for our Q&A. To facilitate the question and answer, may we request back our Director of Public Information, Sir Amin Andrew Alonto. Our Cabinet Secretary, Mod Asnin Pendatun, will also be joining us as the BIATF spokesperson. And our dear friends from the MSSD, MOH, UNICEF are also joining our Q&A session. So, Sir Andrew.
Thank you again, George. So we are now at the second part of our program, which is the Q&A. From our friends from the media, and to join us in today's session, as what George said, we are joined by the spokesperson of the Bangsamoro Interagency Task Force, Mod Asnin Pendatun, and I believe the ministers from the different ministries as well, like Attorney Raisa Jajuri is also with us. So to start, there was a question earlier in the chat room, which I will be reading. And I think it's addressed to the UNICEF or UK government. And the question is from PIA Region 9, Assistant Regional Director Rene V. Carboyas. And the question is, internet signal and communication infrastructure in remote areas in Barm are wanting. With efforts on risk communication, how can UNICEF and UK government help us with this dilemma? So, would anyone from the UNICEF would like to answer?
Maybe I can start off and then others can join.
Okay.
So as I mentioned in my brief message, many children are being affected by connectivity in terms of benefiting from learning. So for us, as UNICEF globally, regionally, as well as in the Philippines, in Barm, connectivity for students, for children is so important that children can continue accessing learning education. And we have actually pilot initiative in the country jointly with the big corporations, companies like Globe. And we are piloting some of the connectivity projects, supporting connectivity to expand or increase the connectivity for remote provinces, remote areas. And frankly speaking, I cannot tell exactly whether it's going to be in Barm, but I can tell that this could be, if it's successful, it's going to be expanded to other parts of the country. And definitely with Andrew, with our team, comms, and the partnership engagement we are entering into, we will be definitely considering this is an absolute critical, important area to support remote areas in Barm. Andrew, would you like to join in to come to respond, to expand?
Yes, Ojun, I can briefly. Yes, this issue of the digital divide is absolutely a crucial issue. But in terms of UNICEF, as recently as 2 weeks ago, we held a meeting with senior staff from SMART and senior staff from Globe in Manila to ask the question, what more can they do to improve connectivity across Barm? With a priority for the island provinces. We can be in Tawi-Tawi in the provincial capital and not have a phone signal, not have an internet signal. How do we overcome this issue? So I think that we are raising the questions, but I do know that the Barm government itself are aware of this issue, and the Minister for Interior and Local Governance, right from the first formation of the BTA, was discussing this issue of connectivity. So perhaps someone from the Barm government can comment. We will do what we can, and I think very soon we would like to have that in-depth discussion with the government related to connectivity in the islands. We are trying our best. We've raised the issue, we've highlighted the problem, and perhaps the Barm government would be able to take that forward, and we will contribute as we can.
Well, thank you for those input, Andrew. Before we proceed, though, we would also like to extend our gratitude, of course, to our Chief Minister, who has to leave early. Thank you, Chief Minister, for attending this event, and of course to Deputy Ambassador Alistair Toddy, sir. Again, also thank you for attending this launching event. And before going on to the next question, since Andrew also said that maybe someone from the Barm government can make comments on the connectivity, I believe our Ministry of Transportation and Communication do have efforts in improving the communication infrastructure, especially in our island provinces. I just do not have all the details with me at the moment, but I believe Basilan has been connected. Most parts of Basilan do now have internet connection, but maybe it's something that UNICEF and the MOTC under the leadership of Minister Hermoso can further look into. Okay, all right. So there is another question here in the chat box, and I believe Cabsec Pendatun can answer this. It's from Bong Sarmiento. Okay, and the question is, how does Barm government cope with the rising threats of COVID-19, especially in the island provinces and other remote areas in the mainland? What are the major challenges you're facing? So, Cabsec.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Bong, for the question. We've been getting quite a peculiar challenges in the island provinces. And I think this is where the strategic partnership with UNICEF and the UK government comes into play. Unlike any other regions in the country, in the Bangsamoro, particularly in the island provinces, we also facilitate the returning Bangsamoros from Sabah. And this is very peculiar or very unique to the COVID-19 challenges of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Earlier on, we've made several institutional arrangements with pertinent government and non-government institutions in facilitating properly the return of this Bangsamoro from Sabah. At first, we were able to get an arrangement with them that the batches or the return of these Bangsamoro will be done in batches, and only those who have negative PCR tests will be brought back to the island provinces, so to speak. But that's just one part of the bigger picture. The bigger question really is, how do we help these individuals and their families start their lives again as they return in the island provinces. And I believe a major component of the partnership with UNICEF and the UK government deals with this problem very specifically. In addition to that, on the health side, because of the geographic location and the geographic characteristic of the territories in the Barm, we've had some quite challenges with the testing in Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, because they need to be brought to Zamboanga City. And Zamboanga City in itself has been dealing with COVID-19, and they've had significant numbers. There were instances when the return of the tests were delayed because of the backlog and because of at the time there was some shortage with the cartridge that led to the sudden increase in confirmed cases, particularly in Tawi-Tawi. We've seen this actually earlier on, and that's why we now the Bangsamoro Interagency Task Force on COVID-19 exploring further the ways in which we could have dedicated testing capacities, testing centers in the island provinces themselves, so that we will they need not to go to Zamboanga anymore just to have their swab samples tested for COVID-19. We've had significant developments, particularly in Tawi-Tawi and in Sulu. I believe the gene expert machines are already available, so it's a matter of getting or upgrading the laboratory and the technical capacity of the health workers in conducting the RT-PCR tests. This was also partially discussed in the meeting that mentioned by the Chief Minister earlier. We've conducted prior to this. So as we continue the battle against COVID-19, we see that our challenges continue to evolve, and we've been adjusting necessarily to directly address the aforementioned challenges in that specific part of the region.
Thank you very much, Capsec Pendatun. Okay. We do have another question here, again from Bong Sarmiento. it's addressed to Minister Iqbal, if he is online. How do the MILF members help the Barm government in containing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, if any? Is Minister Iqbal around? Anyway, we'll since he's not around, we will take note of your questions, Sir Bong, and we will get back to you as soon as we get some answers.
But,
Okay.
Andrew, I
Yeah.
think if Minister Jajuri is still around, uh, perhaps they can share an experience in which the MILF um, members or combatants specifically help them in facilitating the SAP distribution in certain areas here in the region.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Minister Jajuri.
Sorry. Yes, and I will be speaking only as someone working in the Ministry of Social Services. I'm sure there are other engagements by the other ministries with respect to the BF members or other MILF members. But in our case, I will focus more on the refs because this is part of the project that we're launching right now. Our members of the BF have reps and LSIs, I will have to say. The situation I'd like to highlight is the one where we had 401 LSIs, sorry, it's not the reps, but LSIs who are destined for Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, but they were routed to Maguindanao and Cotabato City, and we had to put them in quarantine for more than 3 weeks, I think. And definitely the MILF members, particularly BF members, helped us in first providing accommodation. We had to use part of the Darapanan camp to house some of the locally stranded individuals, and they provided security to those who were quarantined in that area. During the travel back, we also utilized them. We asked their help in providing again security and human resources so that the locally stranded individuals who were embarking on a boat bound for Zamboanga City and then to the other provinces, they help us with that. So they are there in our SAP distribution. We also tapped on the men of the BF in our relief distribution as well. So they've been very helpful to us, and I'm just speaking, as I said, as MSSD minister, but I think they've been doing a lot more in relation to MENRE, in tree planting, in being tapped as local foresters, and by some other ministries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister Raisa Jajuri. Okay. At this point, are there any more questions from our friends in the media or the PIA? Okay, well, since it's also time, I believe that ends our question and answer part of the program. Okay, so I'd like to thank everyone, our media partners and friends. Thank you so much for participating in this event. Anyway, for more information about this partnership, we will be providing, or we will be releasing a PR with contact details of our communication officer, information officers in case there are any further clarifications. So again, I'd like to thank you everyone. George, I'll be giving you back the floor.
Thank you so much, Director Andrew. As mentioned, for our dear media friends, we will be giving contact numbers of our dear ministries and partner agencies along with that of the British Embassy if you have further questions. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Before we leave, however, I think it's a mandatory now for every Zoom meeting that we turn on back our cameras for a group photo. So for those who are entering online classes, this is not yet the part where we say goodbye to the teacher. So if may we request everyone to please look at their cameras, and our tech guys are already fixing their all right, as I'm seeing some of our friends from the British Embassy, we're already all right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so another one. 1, 2, 3. And last one. 1, 2, 3. All right. Again, on behalf of the BPI-BARMM, the Ministries of Health, Social Services and Development, and the Education Ministry, along with the Bureau of Public Information, UNICEF Philippines, and the UK Embassy in the Philippines, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we are looking forward for better days to come, inshallah. This is the virtual launching of our emergency response on COVID-19. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Once again, my name is Georgiani Sinswat, and have a good lunch. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Georgiana, for good hosting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.